Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are LA.
It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday night to you, wherever you may be. Game 3 of the 4-game series with the Phils, who pounded the Dodgers, as you probably know, last night, so they've split the first 2. As far as Philadelphia is concerned, they do pretty well at Dodger Stadium. Going back to 2010, that would cover 19 games here, including postseason. The Phillies have won 13 and lost only 6. In fact, there was one stretch where they won 7 straight here and 3 series. Well, this series is still very much up for grabs. On the mound for Philadelphia, their ace left-hander Cliff Lee, the big boy who was the Cy Young Award winner with the Cleveland Indians when he won 22 games back in 2005. He'll be on the mound. He is 2-1 lifetime against the Dodgers, and his career earned run average against the Dodgers 0.95. Countering Lee, the Dodgers send Hyun-Jin Ryu to the mound. His career ERA 0.00. He's never faced them before. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. In California Hyundai dealers. Through July 7, get a great deal on a new Elantra at Hyundai's 4th of July sales event. By AT&T U-verse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. And by Jack in the Box. Try Jack's Big Stack Burger. 2 jumbo beef patties stacked with onion rings, cheese, and pickles.
Last night, the Dodgers' 6-game win streak suffered a beatdown in downtown. The Phillies' 21 hits, a 16-1 win, the worst home loss in Dodgers history. Let's hope tonight is a little bit better. Jim Watson, Steve Lyons in center field. But the Dodger bounce back tonight going to be complicated because the Phillies starter, Cliff Lee, won the 2008 Cy Young, 134 victories, and hasn't lost in 2 months.
Yeah, one of the best in the league. This is a guy who's going to throw a lot of fastballs. He'll cut it, he'll sink it, he'll throw a slider up there. He also has an outstanding changeup. In 16 starts this year, he has given up 4 runs twice. So kind of a tough customer. Runs are going to be at a premium tonight. Ryu's got to match him.
All right, so Cliff Lee's been in the bigs for 13 years. Hyun-Jin Ryu for the Dodgers, just one. But this guy's cagey. He's never faced Philly, but he's tough at Chavez Ravine.
He's pitched well here, 4-1 with an ERA of under 2. Now, he's got He's got the capabilities to shut this offense down. We've seen over the last couple nights where they have 35 hits in the last 2 nights. He can do that. He's got to work both sides of the plate with his fastball, throw that changeup, get him to swing through some pitches, get some strikeouts tonight.
Hyun-Jin Ryu coming off a pretty strong start against San Francisco. 6 2/3, 1 earned run. It's a duel of lefties as the Dodgers try to reestablish a little street cred in front of a full house on a Saturday night at Chavez Ravine.
Wherever you may be, the Dodgers and the Phillies, Game 3 of the 4-game series. And before we usually get into the drill at the outset, the Dodgers have made 2 announcements tonight we thought of great interest. Josh Beckett will undergo surgery to relieve pressure on the nerve in his neck area, commonly known as thoracic outlet syndrome. The surgery will be performed in Dallas by Dr. Pearl this week of July 8th. He's expected to return to competition 3 to 5 months. So we certainly wish Josh the best. God bless and hope everything works out. The other, Peter Moylan, who appeared as recently as last night. Moylan gave up 5 runs. He has been sent down to Albuquerque, and the Dodgers have brought up a young fireballer right-hander by the name of Jose Dominguez. He's up from Albuquerque. We can tell you one thing about Dominguez. We've never seen him. In 17 innings, he struck out 28. So he throws hard. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get back to the routine. And the first thing we'll do is look at Charlie Manuel's batting order. And it reads this way. Michael Young at third. Chase Utley at second. Jimmy Rollins at short. Dominic Brown hits cleanup in left field. Delman Young, who has established a home here, he's in right field. John Mayberry at first base. Ben Revere, the center fielder. Carlos Ruiz behind the plate. And the ace, the Cy Young Award winner, Cliff Lee on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Hyun-Jin Ryu, 6'1", 220. Ryu just 26 years old, and the left-hander going up against a threshing machine the way Philadelphia hit the ball in the last 2 games. All they've done is have 35 hits in 2 games, and yet the best they can do is split the first 2. So after sitting and watching the Phillies rack up 21 hits and 16 runs last night, it will see now how Ryu goes after them, and it'll be Michael Young, followed by Chase Utley, and then Jimmy Ronalds. Michael Young, among other things, a 4-hit game. He had a home run, and Michael takes a strike. A veteran for years with the Texas Rangers. Young is not your typical leadoff man. 5 home runs, 21 runs batted in, takes a breaking ball strike, and the count 0-2. He is not the kind of fellow who scratch his way on with a bunt or a walk and steal a bunch of bases. Strike 2 pitch on the way, strike 3 call. So it didn't take Ryu long to go after Michael Young, and down he goes, 1 away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively. They shape up this way. Gonzalez and Ellis, Ramirez, Uribe, with Dan Slight with a left-hander going in left. Then Matt Kemp, Puig, and Ellis behind the plate. So 1 away, and here's the great second baseman, Chase Utley of the Phillies. Utley last night had a walk and 2 hits, and then got his 3rd hit in the 8th inning. Hitting .281, he has a 7-game hitting streak, and the left-hand hitter takes just off the plate. Ball 1. 1-0. The Bruin from UCLA, and boy, what a diamond he has been for the Philadelphia Phillies. You really can't say enough about Utley. In the 2 games, he's hitting .625 and takes a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. He has always done well here. You can just imagine if he played for the Dodgers. As a visiting Philly, he's hit .328 here at Dodger Stadium. Ryu ready, and the 1-1 pitch, big overhand curveball, and that's belted to right. That goes Puig to the wall. It is gone. So Utley does it again. He got a breaking ball, and I mean, he sent it out of here in a hurry. His other home run, which happened the game before, was a line drive, no doubt about it, and there was no doubt about that one. So Puig gets the ball back and throws it towards the ball boy. And for Chase Utley, a line drive home run into the right field pavilion. Utley with 10 home runs, 29 runs batted in, no doubt about it. He had to back up about 10 rows. So Utley gets 5s. They are such a better ball club now that he's back. Here's Jimmy Rollins, and he takes low, ball 1. Remember, Utley was out for a while, pulled a muscle in the rib cage. And now that he's back, the Phillies figure to do better. Rollins ground ball to third. Uribe throws him out. And we have 2 down, and the batter will be Dominic Brown. One of the things about Dominic Brown, he has 21 home runs, and 8 of those 21 home runs he has hit leading off an inning. So he's already done it to the Dodgers in the first game of the series. He led off in the 2nd inning, and boom, home run. Hitting .275, 57 RBIs, big left-hand batter. Here comes Ryu, and he works it in for a strike, and the count 0-1. So Dominic Brown waiting. The strike 1 pitch on the line drive by the mound into center field. So Dominic Brown, a bullet into center, and that will bring in Delman Young. All Delman Young has done in this series, he had 7 consecutive hits, spilling over in his first 2 at-bats last night. Then he had 1 more hit in the 7th inning. He drove in 6 runs last night, a career high, and he is 7 for 10 in the series. So the kid from Calabasas checks in, and the first pitch for a strike, and the count 0-1. The Phillies are a traveling ball club. They have been on the road for more games than any other team in the National League. which means when they get home, they figure to really get back into the race. The next pitch is low, 1-1. Right now, 7.5 behind Atlanta. They are 3 games under 500, but they can make a move for sure. The 1-1 pitch coming up, that's waved at and fouled off. 1-2 the count. Dominic Brown over at first base does a lot of things right. He not only has 21 home runs, he has stolen 8 out of 9. A lot of talent on this Phillies ball club. Ryu set at the belt and goes to first, and a quicker reaction by Gonzalez might have gotten him. It looked like a little daylight from the time the throw went over. 1-2 the count. From this angle, when you lean like that, you think you've got him, and certainly the throw, but it was late. So Ryu has given up a home run to Chase Utley, a 2-out single to Dominic Brown, and he's battling with Delman Young. The 1-2 pitch on the way is just down and away. 2-2 to count. Looked like he almost turned over a changeup. We have said it before. The one thing we see in Ryu that does remind me of Fernando, he is not a hurried type pitcher. In other words, if a ball is hit back at him and it's off his glove on the grass somewhere, he will not run after it. He knows exactly how much time he has. Fernando never seemed to be ruffled while pitching, and I get the same feeling watching Ryu. 2-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball swung on and missed. That takes care of Young. In fact, that was a late break on an 85-mile-an-hour pitch. But for Chase Utley, he doesn't let him break by, and the Phillies lead 1-0. Dodgers coming up, bottom of the first inning. Here's Don Mattingly's lineup, and we'll take a look. It begins with Mark Ellis at second, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, and Hanley Ramirez at short. Matt Kemp in center, Scott Van Slyke in left, A.J. Ellis the catcher, Juan Uribe at third, Hyun-Jin Ryu on the mound. On the mound for the Phils, Cliff Lee with a record of 9-2. He won the Cy Young Award when he was a member of the Cleveland Indians. He's 6'3", 190, 9 wins, 2 losses, and we will tell you a few things about him as far as how he pitches. The pitch to Mark Ellis, a little high ball one. Number one, he wins on the road. He has 9 victories, 6 of them away from Philadelphia. He has pitched over 75 innings on the road, which means when he starts the ball game, he usually gets through 7 innings. He has 3 victories in the month of June. Strikes out a lot of right-hand batters. 87 right-hand hitters have bitten the dust against Cliff Lee. 2-0 pitch on the way. Fastball low, and he's behind 3-0. So Mark Ellis trying to get something started, hitting .267. 4 home runs, 20 RBIs. He has hit lead off amongst about 7 different Dodgers. 3-0 pitch on the way, drilled in there, 3-1. Lee backs off the rubber for the moment. Now gets on the third base side of the rubber. Puig waits on deck. 3-1 pitch on the way, swung on, popped up, foul ground. Coming back, Carlos Ruiz, and makes the catch one-handed for the out. So Ellis fouls out. We have 1 away, and the batter is Yasiel Puig. Puig has seen some pretty good pitchers since he has come up. The fans really into it with him. Puig, right now, I think, is looking and will be looking at the best pitcher that he has seen so far in his young major league career. Hitting .424, 7 home runs. Here comes Lee, fastball, and it's up. Ball 1, 1-0. He hits 91. You can link Cliff Lee and Sandy Koufax and Fernando Valenzuela as Puig fouls a pitch back. When Lee came to the Phillies for the first time in July of '09, his first 5 starts for the Phillies, he was 5-0 and an earned run average of less than 1, 0.6. In the past 60 years, there have only been 2 pitchers to do that. Fernando was the other, and Puig a bullet into center for a base hit. So he just continues to amaze day in and day out, and I mean, he smoked that thing. So a 1-out single, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Anyway, the only other pitcher to go 5-0 and have an ERA under 1, it was Fernando when he first joined the Dodgers, and his earned run average was 0.2. You can't get much better than that. So the great left-hander sitting upstairs broadcasting the game, and the batter Adrian Gonzalez with Hanley Ramirez on deck. First pitch is high, ball 1. You would figure that Lee and Gonzalez certainly know each other pretty well. So we'll check and see. Adrian has worn him out. He is 9 for 16 with a home run. Lee ready, the 1-0 pitch. Adrian takes a breaking ball that's in for a strike, and the count 1-1. We talked about Lee also having his name tied in with Sandy Koufax. We'll tell you about that in a minute. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cliff set, ready, here he comes. Fastball in at the knuckles, ball 2. Cliff Lee, 2 years ago, shut out the Washington Nationals on 3 hits, struck out 12 in a complete game, and made less than 100 pitches. 2-1 pitch, and that's down and away, ball 3. He made 99. And the last time a pitcher struck out at least 12 complete game, less than 100, sure, Sandy Koufax, who no-hit the Phillies. 12 strikeouts on 97 pitches. Now the 3-1 pitch on the way. There goes Puig. The pitch is high for ball 4, and the shortstop Rollins telling Puig, don't slide. So Gonzalez draws the walk. Dodgers now have Puig at second with 1 out. And here comes Hanley Ramirez. Hanley Ramirez with a 10-game hitting streak, hitting .373. Ramirez is hitting .500 against Cliff Lee, 5 for 10 with a home run. So Gonzalez and Ramirez have done a number on the big left-hander, and we'll see what happens now. Lee out of a stretch, checks the runners. Pitch to Hanley is swung on, a towering fly ball to center. Back goes Ramirez. He is gone. And the Dodgers lead 3-1. Oh, did he crush that ball? Oh. Hanley Ramirez has an 11-game hitting streak. Hanley has 6 home runs, 17 runs batted in, and the Dodgers lead 3-1. Oh, he killed it. to Hanley, getting fives in the dugout. And now the batter is Matt Kemp. I tell you one thing, for Matt Kemp, with all of the glories that he has entertained with, pretty tough act to follow. Puig single, Ramirez home run, and he checks in now against Lee. Cliff delivers, fastball strike, 0-1. Well, what about Kemp? What's he done against Cliff Lee? 0-63. So he's just 1 for 16. Fastball, that's fouled away. 0-2 the count for Cliff Lee. That would be the 8th home run that he has allowed. He's out of Benton, Arkansas. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way. The curveball is at Kemp's feet. 1-2 the count. Last year, Cliff Lee had a lot of problems. He had the oblique strain. He wound up 6-9. In fact, he picked up his first victory last year, July 4th. The next pitch, check swing. Kemp could not hold up and strikes out. So strikeout number 1 for Lee. One of the things that Hanley Ramirez home run has done is to change Cliff Lee's ERA against the Dodgers. Coming into this game, his career earned run average 0.95. Left-hander's fastball is fouled back by Scott Van Slyke, and the count 0-1. Cliff Lee, who came to Philadelphia 2 years ago, signed a 5-year deal, so he'll be with the Phils for a while. Fastball is high, 1-1 the count. So Cliff and the Phillies scored first on Utley's home run, and the Dodgers rebound with 3 of their own on a big home run. So it's Utley and Ramirez putting their teams on the scoreboard. 1-1 pitch on the way, low fastball, 2-1. Van Slyke in last night's pounding by Philadelphia doubled and drove in the only run. It was Puig who carried it in. 2 balls and 1 strike to Scott Van Slyke. The left-hander lead deals, and that swung on, and a high fly ball to right center. It appears playable, and it is. Then Revere is there to catch it, and that's the inning. But Puig singles to center. Gonzalez walks, and Hanley Ramirez lowers the boom. And what a boom it was. And at the end of 1, Dodgers 3, Phillies 1. Last night, the Phillies won going away, beating the Dodgers 16-1, the largest losing margin in a home game since July 3rd, way back in '47, when the Giants beat them at Ebbets Field 19-2. And as far as the game here, it ties the most runs ever allowed at Dodger Stadium. Hanley Ramirez, he hit a home run that they say 439 feet. And we go to the second. Ryu deals first pitch in for a strike, 0-1. You know, in talking about last night's game, the last time the Dodgers gave up more than 16 runs at home, would you believe, it was against Philadelphia. Strike one pitch is low. It was back in 1961. The Dodgers were playing in the Coliseum, and would you believe the starting pitcher was Sandy Koufax. Dodgers lost that game 19-10. Ground ball to short. Ramirez on it. Straightens up. Throws high, but right at Gonzalez. One away. So John Mayberry rolls to short. And the batter now will be Ben Revere. Ben Revere, among other things, has wings on his feet. Revere is not a home run hitter at all, but he is 20 out of 26, covers a lot of ground in center field, hitting .280, and is always a threat to bunt. He has a half a dozen bunt singles. He has a look at a pitch off the plate, ball one. He also has a high number of infield hits. How about 19? The 1-0 pitch on the way to the left-hand hitter, swung on, hit in the air to left center in the gap. That's going to bounce and go to the wall. Revere, who runs so well, is at second, and he will hold on. So Ryu has given up a home run to Utley, a single to Brown, and now a double to Revere. And the batter will be the catcher, Carlos Ruiz, who normally gives the Dodgers a bad time. Ruiz checks in at the plate. The veteran catcher hitting .260. Played in 25 games. He had to ride out a 25-game suspension. An all-star last year. So a runner at second, one away. Second inning, 3-1 Dodgers. And Ruiz followed by Cliff Lee. Ryu taking plenty of time. Now looks back at second, works the plate, drops the first one in for a strike. 0-1 the count. Unjin Ryu, 6 wins, 3 losses. First time he's ever pitched against the Phillies. Strike one pitch on the way. A look back at Revere, and the pitch just inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Carlos, right-hand hitter, veteran catcher, waiting. Ryu, a look back at Revere. And the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball at the knees for a strike at 90 miles an hour. And the count 1-2. What Ryu does is take a look at Mark Ellis. Ellis keeps darting towards second base. Dodgers afraid with Uribe deep that Revere might get it into his head to steal third. So the 1-2 pitch on the way, breaking ball foul back. 1-2. Carlos Ruiz. Boy, over the years, he's done a number on the Dodgers, and especially, it would seem, in the playoff games in the postseason. They call him Chooch. He's from Chiriqui in Panama. 1-2 pitch is just inside. 90-mile-an-hour fastball. A reminder, in 2009, a 3-run home run off Clayton Kershaw. I'll bet you Clayton can remember the pitch and everything else about it. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Carlos Ruiz, and he takes low. The 3-2 the count to Carlos. Carlos with Cliff Lee hitting behind him. Ruiz has been with the Phillies since 2007. Ryu ready, and the 3-2 pitch. Rui swings and misses and strikes out. That is the third strikeout for Ryu, and it'll bring up Cliff Lee. Just seemed to slide in there under the bat. Cliff Lee, as far as his adventures with the bat, hitting .226. He has 7 hits, 1 run batted in. Strike out maybe a third of the time, so he can be a problem. And of course, the Dodgers know about Phillies hitters after they gave up 3 hits to John Lannon last night. First pitch, ball 1 to Cliff Lee. Lannon sitting on a chair in the dugout, taking in the ball game. 3-1 Dodgers, second inning. Here comes Ryu, and the pitch high. So Hyun-Jin has fallen behind now. 2-0 to Cliff Lee. Tomorrow afternoon, Kyle Kendrick and Stephen Fife. Ryu out of a stretch. Now the 2-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken for a high strike up in the strike zone. 2-1 the count. 2008, Cliff was the comeback player of the year in the American League. Pitcher of the year. Outstanding pitcher in the Players' Choice Award. He has a look, and that's a strike, and the count 2-2. Of course, that was the year that he won the Cy Young. 22 wins that year and only 3 losses. What a season. All right, the 2-2 pitch on the way, and it's a big breaking ball down and away. 3-2. So throwing those kinds of pitches, you get the idea the Dodgers feel Cliff Lee is not a bad hitting pitcher. 3-2 with 2 out. Michael Young on deck. Ryu deals, swung on and missed. So he strikes out Lee. That's 4 strikeouts for him in 2 innings. They leave Ben Revere at second base. And at the end of an inning and a half, 3-1 Dodgers. Southern California Kia retailers. Visit mysocalkia.com. By AT&T, rethink possible. And by 76, we're on the driver's side. Bottom of the second inning, 3-1 in favor of the Dodgers. We can drop in a final score. The Atlanta Braves beat the Diamondbacks 11-5. Arizona now losers of 5 of 6. They let a lead get away. Braves scored 7 in the 8th inning to come from behind and win. Diamondbacks have not gotten a win from a starter in the last 21 games. Arizona winning only 8 of the 21, and all 8 victories went to relievers. So Kirk Gibson's club is hurting a wee bit, and the Dodgers have a big 3-game series July 8, 9, and 10 in Arizona. A.J. Ellis starts it off in the second inning. 3-1 Dodgers. A.J. takes ball 1. We mentioned earlier about Philadelphia being on the road. The 1-0 pitch on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 1-1 strike. Phillies have played 44. This is their 45th road game. Ryan Howard sitting this one out, and the pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-2. But the road has not bothered Cliff Lee. In his career, 64-40 at home, 70-40 on the road. The 1-2 pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes A.J. Ellis. That would be the second strikeout for Cliff Lee. Say, be sure don't miss Adrian Gonzalez bobblehead night, Thursday, July 11 at 7, the Dodgers and Rockies. And the first 50,000 fans in attendance take home a mini Aegon bobblehead, compliments of State Farm. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. So here's Juan Uribe hitting .270. Lee into the windup, delivers fastball for a strike. We've always commented as Uribe checks in about, you look at Major League ball players, it is such a glamorous appearance. A lot more to it than that. A lot of hard work, and for many of them, a lot of heartbreak. Strike 1 pitch is low and away. Cliff Lee, I mean, you look at Cliff, big winner, big money, Cy Young Award winner. In 2001, his son Jackson was born with leukemia. The pitch swung on and fouled back. They didn't find out about Jackson that he had leukemia until he was about 4 months old. Fever, vomiting, you guess it. And they started going to various doctors, Arkansas Children's Hospital. Then they went on to radiation. Then they went off to San Antonio. Uribe swings, doesn't get it, strike 3. And the best thing is, we understand that Jackson has beaten childhood leukemia. But imagine just what Cliff went through during those terrible days. 2 out here in the second. Hyun-Jin Ryu, not a bad hitting pitcher. They certainly can't take him for granted. Ryu has 7 hits, like Cliff Lee, and 3 runs batted in. Takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Hyun-Jin waiting, leading 3-1 in the game. Cliff Lee into the windup. Strike 1 pitch. Fastball, broken bat. Wow, that bat came apart. Part of it sailed into the stands. A piece of it flew up in the air and landed up along third base. And Ryu is going to clean it up. The fan sitting directly behind the Dodger dugout. Father got somewhat of a fright, but apparently everything is okay. That bat just disintegrated, and the meat part of the bat landed directly behind the Dodger dugout. And although people were frightened, I think everybody's okay. Thank God. All right, 0-2 the count to Ryu. He looks at strike 3 call, so all Cliff Lee does is go to the mound and strike out the side. And at the end of 2, Dodgers 3, Phillies 1. 14th at 1:10, Dodgers and Rockies. And the first 40,000 fans in attendance take home a Puig t-shirt. Compliments of Time Warner Cable. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Pitching duel between left-handers, although it started off on a rocky note. Second batter up for Philadelphia, Chase Utley, took Ryu downtown. And the fourth Dodger hitter, Hanley Ramirez, did the same to Cliff Lee, only his a 439-foot bomb with 2 men aboard, giving the Dodgers the 3-1 lead. We told you that the Diamondbacks lost, and we can tell you that the Rockies beat the Giants 2-1. Giants are really hurting. In that game, Michael Kadaya extended his hitting streak to 26 games. The run that beat the Giants came in the bottom of the 9th. Giants have now lost 6 in a row. The first pitch swung on and fouled away by the leadoff man Michael Young, who struck out in the first inning. So the Diamondbacks lose. The Padres have lost to the Marlins 7-1. The strike one pitch just outside. Giancarlo Stanton homered, and Miami went on to win it. So when you look at the standings, this is a huge game for the Dodgers. 1-1 pitch on the way. Breaking ball reached for. Ground ball to Gonzalez. Underhands to Ryu coming over. And we have one away here in the third inning. So Arizona loses. San Diego loses. And that means Colorado climbs over the Padres. Colorado 2 games back. Giants 4. And for the moment, the Dodgers 5.5. But it could be 5 if they can hold on to a 3-1 lead. And of course, the one thing to really keep in mind, tomorrow is June 30th. And then they really get to going. This is the 80th game of the year for the Dodgers. So tomorrow's game is the halfway point. Well, here is Utley, who hit a home run deep into the stands in the first inning. And the left-hand hitter takes a strike. Turned his right shoulder inward. Now turns and questions the call by C.B. Buckner. Utley waiting after, among other things, he must have a tremendous scrapbook. Strike one pitch to Chase. Swung on and hit to deep right field. There goes Puig to the bullpen gate. And that goes out. So Utley now has hit 2 home runs in his 2 at-bats. And the Dodger lead is 3-2. In talking about Utley, in losing the 2009 World Series to the Yankees, at least Chase Utley could say he joined Reggie Jackson of the '77 Yankees, the only big leaguers to hit 5 home runs in a single World Series. So it is no surprise that Chase hits 2 tonight. He is just a dynamite player. So following the home run again, Jimmy Rollins. Chase very much on his game. So the healthy Utley and the figure that Ryan Howard will be coming back, and the fact they have so many more home games because they've had 45 on the road, not too much of a surprise if we see the Phillies start to rise. Kevin Franson talking to Chase Utley. The Phillies about 2 games behind Washington. Strike 2 pitch inside, 1-2. Washington began the day 5.5 behind Atlanta. So Jimmy Rollins, a star in his own right, grounded to third, first at bat, and the count runs to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ryu rocks and turns, 2-2 pitch on the way. Chopper to the right side. Mark Ellis in front of it, makes the play for the second out. Well, in talking about Philadelphia, and you take a look, this for the moment. Remember, Atlanta won big. So Washington 6.5 back. Philadelphia left the hotel 7.5 back. They're 8 behind. Should they win, they get back to 7.5. And then you have the Mets in Miami. But Atlanta, the team to beat for sure in the East. Now 2 down. Dominic Brown, first ball swinging, hits a long fly ball to center. Kemp goes back, still on the grass, and makes the catch for the out. However, they can't stop Chase Utley. He hits his second home run at the end of 2.5 innings, 3-2 Dodgers. Of the third inning, they're facing Cliff Lee, and of course Cliff belongs in the elite group. CC Sabathia, since 2004, 156 wins. Roy Halladay, 142. Justin Verlander of Detroit, 132, and Cliff Lee, 131. So Cliff gave up that 3-run home run in the first inning, struck out the side in the second, and now second time around against Mark Ellis. Ellis takes high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Among other things, the Philadelphia infield has certainly helped Cliff Lee. They've turned 14 double plays behind him. 1-1 fastball, that's fouled away. 1-2. Lee puts a lot of heat on the batters. He goes right after them. He goes 0-2 about 200 times. Cliff looks down. It's a 1-2 count. Mark Ellis swings, fouls it back, though he's still there. We talked about Hanley Ramirez and Adrian Gonzalez giving Cliff Lee a bad time. Mark Ellis hitting just 150. He has 4 hits. Hanley, the big gun so far. And meanwhile, Mark Ellis strikes out, joining Matt Kemp. And that's 5 strikeouts for Cliff Lee. And here comes Yasiel Puig, who greeted Lee with a bullet into center field for a base hit. So a veteran, extremely successful pitcher loses a base hit in his first battle with Puig, who's now batting .430. So that was the first at bat. Now it'll be interesting to see how he works on Puig the second time around. Cliff ready and delivers, swung on, ground ball to the right side. There's Puig, first ball hitter, and grounds out. So 2 down in the third. That's one thing for sure. If you're in the ballpark or even watching on television, listening on radio, when Puig comes up and you're really interested in him, stop whatever you're doing, because normally he's not going to be around the plate very often. So 2 down. Lee now has retired 7 in a row. Gonzalez started his problems after Puig walked. Adrian got a walk, and Ramirez then hit the home run. Lee into the windup, and with 2 out, works the plate. Nice pitch in for a strike. Adrian has had a lot of success against Cliff Lee. Veteran left-hand to back and a fastball away, and they count 1 ball, 1 strike. Basically, with Lee, fastball, slider, curveball, and he also has a cutter. The 1-1 pitch is a fastball and low. So Lee taking a little walk. 4-seam fastball has been clocked as high as 93. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way, and it's a fastball fouled off. Looking at Cliff Lee battling Adrian Gonzalez. Lee in that Philadelphia uniform, tall left-handed. If you were old enough, you can't help but think back to a left-hander with the Phils by the name of Steve Carlton, who had as vicious a slider to right-hand batters as we've ever seen. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Check swing on a fastball outside. Swing, says Dale Scott, the crew chief. And Adrian got it out, stands there and goes, wow. So he couldn't believe it. Down he goes. And at the end of 3, it's 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. Philadelphia. The ball club then leaves to Colorado, San Francisco, and Arizona. Come back for 4 with the Rockies, and then the All-Star break. Meanwhile, we move to the 4th. Delman Young, John Mayberry, and Ben Revere. And here we go. Change missed for ball 1. Delman Young struck out in the first inning. Ryu in a hole now, 2 balls and no strikes. Delman Young, who lives in Camarillo, although he was born in Montgomery, Alabama, went to Camarillo High School. His brother Dimitri played in the big leagues. 2 balls, 1 strike. And ball 3. Last night, 6 RBIs, a career high for Young. 3-1 pitch. And that's taken low, ball 4. So Ryu gave up a home run in the first inning to Utley. Gave up a double to Revere with 1 out in the second. Gave up another home run to Utley in the third. And now walks the possible tying run. Delman Young over at first base does not do any running. At least he doesn't have any stolen bases or even attempts. John Mayberry chip off the old block. His dad was a fine player. He went to Stanford, got a degree, political science. And in for a strike, 0-1. John Mayberry has 244 hits in his career. 100 of them have been for extra bases. So he's a force. 0-1. Ryu back. 0-2. Dodgers 3, Phillies 2. Fourth inning. No balls, 2 strikes. Delman Young off the bag at first, nobody out. Slow breaking ball, strike 3 called. So Mayberry is caught looking, down he goes, 1 away. For Ryu, he has 5 strikeouts. Cliff Lee has 6. So 11 have bitten the dust in 3 1/3 innings. The batter now, Revere. Then doubled to left center as Mayberry quietly walks back to the dugout. Ben Revere out of Atlanta, Georgia, but lives in Lexington, Kentucky. Grew up there. Went to Lexington Catholic High School. Is not expected to hit home runs, and he hasn't hit a home run since he came up with the Twins back in 2010. Breaking ball in there. 1-1 the count to Ben Revere. Revere's played 5 games here at Dodger Stadium, and he's hitting .429. Fastball, a high strike, 1-2. Of course, a high strike to Revere. He's 5'9". Just did get it in there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1 out. Delman Young at first. Dodgers trying to hold on to a 3-2 lead. A look over at Young. He's not going anywhere, and the pitch off the plate. 2-2 the count. Ben Revere, by the way, has done a great job for the Phils with runners in scoring position. He's hitting .350. Now the 2-2 pitch. Revere punches it on a line into left field. Down to second base and stopping is Delman Young. And the batter now will be Carlos Ruiz.
Number 51, Carlos Ruiz.
So Revere 2 for 2, and the Phillies just keep pecking away. Dodgers have 3 runs on 2 hits. The Phillies have 2 runs on 5 hits. So the Phillies have 40 hits so far in 2 games plus 3 innings. 40 hits, led among others the power of Chase Utley. So here's Ruiz. He struck out in the 2nd inning. That's going to go down the right field line, slicing in the corner, foul ball. It was too far away for Puig to catch, so the Dodgers had to hope the ball would go foul, and it did. So Ruiz comes back. No balls, 1 strike. Seeing it from another angle. Foul by a couple of feet. Oh, and 1 to count. We're in the 4th. Dodgers lead 3-2. Strike 1 pitch to Ruiz. Ellis goes to the bag. Take a step away from Delman Young. No balls and 1 strike. And a high pop fly. Infield fly rule is called. Hanley Ramirez will make the catch. So Ruiz pops it up. 2 down, and Cliff Lee coming up. Lee, not a bad hitting pitcher, struck out in the second inning. Top of the fourth, 2 out, 2 on, 3-2 Dodgers. Dodgers will have Ramirez, Kemp, and Van Slyke when they bat in the bottom of the fourth. Starts him with a strike, 0-1. Fastball, that's a strike. 0-2. Game 3 of the 4-game series. Tomorrow afternoon, Kyle Kendrick and Stephen Fife. 0-2 with 2 on and 2 out. And a fly ball to left, moving over is Van Slyke and makes the catch. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and at the end of 3.5, it's still 3-2 Dodgers. Inning, Hanley Ramirez red hot. He said he is swinging the bat as well as he did back in 2009 when he hit .342 to win the batting title. Well, during this 11-game streak, he has his average up to .382, and one reason tonight he got a fastball up and bombed it 439 feet in dead center field. The Hanley, who has hit in 11 straight, will lead it off. Ramirez, with that home run, now has 6 home runs, 17 runs batted in, and this is only his 25th game. Remember all the troubles he had. Started with his thumb and then the hamstring, but he has certainly been full force since coming back. So the only batting champ in Marlins history ready to start it here in the 4th inning. Ramirez has had a lot of success against Cliff Lee. That's a strike. He is 6 for 11 with 2 home runs. So he's batting better than .500 against one of the top left-handers in the game. 0-1. That's low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Line drive over the glove of Mayberry down into the corner. Over to play the carom is Delman Young. And Hanley just jogging into second base as he blisters a double into the corner. For Hanley, his 6th double. Boy, he really is hot. Wow. So an opening double as the Dodgers try to open up their lead. Another fastball, and this time Ramirez hit it inside out and double to right. The other fastball was up when he hit it to dead center. So now Kemp, Van Slyke, and A.J. Ellis trying to pick him up. Matt Kemp fooled in his first at-bat and struck out. Matt has always had great success against the Phillies and has certainly perked up a bit in his last 10 games. Big, slow curveball off the plate. Kemp hitting .281 against left-handers. Only .239 against right. 2-0 the count. Cliff Lee, 9 wins and 2 losses. 6-1 on the road. (2-0). Fastball hit foul. 2-1. Big difference in style amongst all the players, but certainly Matt Kemp is pretty much on the plate. And then when you look at Yasiel Puig, he's quite off the plate. Puig cooling off in the dugout. Got that inside corner he tried to, couldn't do it. 3-1 the count. Gonzalez made the last out. Ramirez opens with a double. Kemp draws a walk. And the Dodgers now would appear to be in business for Scott Van Slyke. So with his half a dozen strikeouts, Cliff Lee has walked 2. Van Slyke flied to center in the first inning. They mentioned Cliff Lee normally is very tough the first 75 pitches in a game. In fact, over that stretch, the opposition is hitting only .204 against him. But he's only made 52 pitches so far tonight. Fastball at the knees. 0-1. Fastball fouled away. So now the count, no balls and 2 strikes. We were talking about that before. He gets a lot of hitters 0-2. Mentioned close to 200. No balls, 2 strikes. Just did get a little and fouled it back. 0-2. Cliff Lee, in looking closely to how he has pitched, has given up 8 hits on an 0-2 count. In the dirt, 1-2. Three runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Phils. Dodgers have runners at first and second, trying to increase their lead. And you have Van Slyke followed by Ellis and Uribe. 1-2 to Scott. high fastball. That runs it 2-2. Fastball at 91. Two balls, two strikes. Ruiz shuffling cards behind the plate. Ball 3. So Lee now one pitch away from loading him up. The challenge in front of Scott not to swing at a bad ball. Van Slyke has walked 7 times and struck out 20. 3-2. Runners hold, and the pitch inside, and the bases are loaded. Nobody out. With Ramirez at third, Kemp at second, Van Slyke at first, and A.J. Ellis checking in.
A.J. Ellis.
A.J. 3 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Ellis came into the game 1 for 3 against Cliff Lee, but he struck out in the second inning. So for Cliff Lee to walk 3, that's a headline, certainly in Philadelphia. Bases loaded, nobody out. Dodgers lead 3-2 and a chance for more. Ellis hitting .244. Ramirez, Kemp, and Van Slyke. Fastball strike. 0-1. Phillies got a home run by Utley in the first inning. Dodgers got a 3-run home run by Ramirez in the bottom of the first. Utley homered again in the third, and that's it. Fastball, and he now has Ellis 0-2. As we said, he gets a lot of hitters 0-2. However, with Van Slyke, he went 3-2 and then walked him. Uribe, who struck out, on deck. Lee with 6 strikeouts. The other thought about Lee, the fact that he's gotten 14 double plays to get out of jams. 0-2. Missed inside, 1-2 the count. Cliff's had a lot of success with the cutter, so much so he pretty much has given up on the slider. Curveball punched foul. Still 1-2. So in the inning, Ramirez continues his blistering hitting as he doubled to right. Kemp walked, Van Slyke walked, and it's a 1-2 count to A.J. Ellis. One and two. Ramirez, Kemp, Van Slyke take their leads. Ellis fouls it away. Still 1-2. Got a fastball, fouled it off to the right. Cliff's fastball at 91. One of the things Cliff Lee does is repeat his delivery. Boy, that is a key of success in pitching. Same delivery, but a different pitch. 1-2 again. Fastball pulled foul. So quite a battle here between Lee and A.J. Ellis. Juan Uribe waiting. Dodgers with a golden opportunity to put a couple of runs on the board. One and two to A.J. Ellis. Fastball fouled away. That thing almost got Charlie Manuel, who's draped on the railing. That was close. 1 ball and 2 strikes. This will be the 8th pitch. Ellis has fouled off 5. Down he goes. In fact, Maynard got a piece of it. He walked away like he had struck out. But he's still alive. And the count remains 1-2. So they could see the ball. We couldn't see it from up here. And AJ's body language looked like he was done. Oh, yeah. Are we rooting or are we rooting? 1-2. And a little roller. Lee goes to the plate. They get 1. Throw to first. They get 2. That's it. The 15th double play that Cliff Lee has gotten to pretty much extricate himself out of a jam. As simple as 1, 2, 3 if you're scoring.
Third baseman number 5, Juan Uribe.
So Ramirez cut down at the plate. Kemp moves to third. Over to second goes Van Slyke. And the Dodgers on the edge of blowing a big opportunity. And now a meeting about Uribe. Phillies with Rich Duvee, who's the pitching coach. A little meeting out there about, do you want to pitch to Uribe or do you want to pitch out of it against Ryu? A veteran pitcher, the stature of Cliff Lee, Cy Young Award winner. They might leave it up to him. Lee has been pitching in the big leagues since 2002. And Uribe has been around himself. So a couple of veterans here. And let's see how it comes out. First of all, will they pitch to him? 3-2 Dodgers, bottom of the 4th. They have the bases loaded, nobody out. They have second and third, 2 out, and they're going to pitch to Uribe. Whether they give him a strike or not remains to be seen. They do have the luxury of an open base. Fastball going right after him, 90 miles an hour. Scott Van Slyke at second. Matt Kemp down the line at third. 2 out. 0-1. Fastball just off the plate. 1-1. Uribe, 3 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Curveball. Oh, what a beauty. Big bender. So a couple of fastballs and a great curve. We told you he got rid of his slider for the cutter. 1-2 the count. Great pitch. Fastball, little tapper to short. Rollins up with it. And the Dodgers blow a huge opportunity. Bases loaded, nobody out, and they come up empty. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. At the end of 4, 3-2 Dodgers. Dodgers and Phils at 110. The first 15,000 ticketed kids 14 and under in attendance will take home a Kids Performance shirt, compliments of Coca-Cola. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Dodgers have to be a little deflated. After all, they had a 3-run first inning. They led 3-1. Then it got to be 3-2, and then they had the opportunity. Bases loaded, nobody out, and they couldn't score. A.J. Ellis hits into the double play, and then Juan Uribe taps out. So they have to go back to work, still getting that after frustration feeling. 3-2 Dodgers in the 5th. Michael Young, Chase Utley again, and then Jimmy Rollins. Young struck out, grounded out. Michael 0 for 2. Long a favorite in Texas for the Rangers. Big slow breaking ball misses, ball 1. Young has only played 2 games at Dodger Stadium in his career. He's hitting .538, 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. 2-0. Fastball pulled. Hanley Ramirez. 1 away, but now here comes Chase Utley. Utley homered in the first. He homered in the third. Last night, he had 3 hits and a walk. And in the first game, he had a single, double, and home run. I mean, he is wearing out the Dodgers in the series. With 2 home runs for the 20 times in his career. He's never hit 3. But don't hold your breath. Breaking ball off the plate. The last man to hit 3 home runs, last opponent to hit 3 home runs here was a Philly who eventually caught a little bit with the Dodgers. Mike Lieberthal back in 2002. That's off the plate. The first 2 home runs that Mike hit in that game were against Hideo Nomo. But despite all of Lieberthal's heroics, the Dodgers won the game 10-8. Mike was a catcher and a good one. The 2-0 pitch swung on and missed. The home runs tonight, Utley hit one on a 1-1 count, the other on an 0-1 count. Hanley Ramirez didn't waste any time when he hit a 3-run home run in the first inning. 2-1 to Utley. Fastball just off the plate. Utley doesn't flinch, even if it was that close. 3-1. Three and 1 to Chase. Fastball, pop foul, out of play. 3-2. They watch players so closely these days. On an 0-1 pitch, Utley is hitting .363 with 22 home runs in his career. On a 1-1 pitch, he has 25 home runs, one of them tonight. Fastball popped up, might be a play for Ellis. So Utley fouls out. 2 down in the 5th, and Jimmy Rollins coming up. Jimmy Rollins, couple of ground balls to third and to second, 0 for 2. 3 for 9 in the series. Hitting .259. And that's a strike, 0-1. 3 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Phils. And that's stroked into the gap in right center. Puig over to get it. Rollins hits the bag and will hold on after a big turn. And looking at these two teams in 1-run games, the Phillies are 9-14 on the road. They're 3-10 in 1-run games. The Dodgers in one-run games at home 9-4. On the road, the Dodgers are 3-7. So boy, you talk about a home field advantage. Apparently, it's a much better thing to be playing at home. When you look at the division leaders, the thing that jumps out the most, the ability of the Cardinals. They're 26-15 on the road. These two teams, the Phillies are 4 games under 500, and the Dodgers are 9 games under 500 on the road. Dominic Brown, single, fly to center. Ryu, among other things, has to keep an eye on Jimmy Rollins. Rollins has stolen 8 out of 12. Slider away, 2-0. Ryu has allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, struck out 5, walked 1. Ground ball wide of third. Nice pick by Uribe. Comes up throwing. So Juan makes a good play. Rollins left the board. And at the end of 4.5 innings, still 3-2 Dodgers. Twitter poll. Do you think there'll be another 300-game winner in the major leagues? Well, tweet hashtag 300 yes or 300 no, and we'll give the results during the game. Hyun-Jin Ryu will start it off here in the bottom of the 5th, then Mark Ellis and Yasiel Puig. Ryu has made 77 pitches. 0-1. Cliff Lee has made 73. One of the things about the hitters when you are facing Cliff Lee, you figure he's going to be right around the plate. 0-2. Last year, he went 17 straight starts, pitching at least 6 innings and walking no more than 1 batter. That's a new modern day record. Cliff Lee. Ball 1. The previous record, 14 straight, no more than 1 batter, by Greg Maddux in 1997, and then way back, Christy Mathewson in 1908. And did he? Yes, he did. See you later. Strikeout number 7 for Cliff Lee.
Dodgers second baseman, number 14, Mark Ellis.
Mark Ellis coming up to see if he can try his luck again. Ellis fouled out and struck out. Cliff Lee so far this year, his high in strikeouts, he had 11 against Milwaukee, 9 against Washington, and a strike. Talking about Lee's control, it really is remarkable. Talking about games in which he did not walk anybody. 27% of his starts has not walked anybody, and 55% one or none. Cliff Lee. The year he won 22 games, 223 innings, and he walked 34 batters. Curveball hit down the right field line, foul. Slow curve. Mark tried to drill it. 0-2. In case you didn't join us, Chase Utley homered in the first with the bases empty. Hanley Ramirez homered in the first with 2 on. Utley homered with the bases empty in the third for his second home run of the night. And that's it. 3-2 Dodgers, 5th inning. Dodgers did blow a great opportunity. Had the bases loaded, nobody out in the 4th inning. Foul back. The last time the Dodgers saw Cliff Lee last year, he went 8 innings. He allowed 2 hits, 1 run, had no decision. Phillies lost that game to Clayton Kershaw. Still 0-2. Tomorrow, 1:10, Kyle Kendrick and Stephen Fife. Oh, and 2 to Mark Ellis. Fastball and low, 1-2. Cliff Lee is 6'3", about 190 pounds. Born and still lives in Benton, Arkansas. Went to the University of Arkansas and was originally drafted by the old Montreal Expos. 1-2. Swung on, fly ball, shallow left, going out as Rollins, and Jimmy puts it away. 2 down in the 5th inning, and here comes Puig.
Dodgers right fielder, number 66, Yasiel Puig.
Puig singled in the 1st inning, hit a shot in the middle, right into center, and then last time up swung at the first pitch and hit a soft ground ball to Utley. There's that first pitch. He cannot wait to go after that. 0-1 the count. No balls and 1 strike. Puig hitting .426. 0-2. Swinging hard, coming up empty. Puig has struck out 19 times. We told you Lee lives on that 0-2 count. Ball 1. Probably he gets as many or more no ball 2 strike counts as any pitcher in the National League. Ramirez watching intently. Puig fouls it off. beautiful evening. It was 83 degrees when the game started. Curveball, a one-hopper at third, right at Michael Young, and makes the play. So the Dodgers go out in order, and at the end of 5, 3-2 Dodgers. There was a no-hitter in the afternoon. Former Dodger pitcher Dave Stewart turned it in for Oakland, and he shut out the Toronto Blue Jays. That night, here at Dodger Stadium, Fernando Valenzuela pitched a no-hitter against the St. Louis Cardinals, 6-0. You can still see the last play. Guerrero hits the ball up the middle. Juan Samuel steps on the bag, doubles him at first. No-hitter Fernando. Let's go back to this one. Juan Samuel, who has returned to Dodger Stadium as the first base coach of the Phillies. That's sliced foul. So Delman Young has struck out and walked after just tearing up the place. Well, Red Barber had an old expression about tearing up the pea patch. Well, he's done that here. 1-1 to Delman. 1-2. Good change. Three runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 6 hits for the Phils. Showing the fastball at 90. 2-2 the count. Ryu has made 81 pitches to here. And that's off the plate. Three and 2. Fouled away. Delman Young getting close. He is 0 for 1 tonight with a walk, but he only needs 4 more hits to have 1,000. 4 more home runs to have 100. He's got over 500 runs batted in. 3-2. Fouled away. Three balls, 2 strikes. And you lost it. So the tying run goes to first on the walk to Delman Young. It's only the second walk given up by Ryu, and both times he's given it to Delman Young. So John Mayberry grounded to short, struck out, 0-for-2. Mayberry out of Kansas City, Missouri, lives in Overland Park. He was a first-round pick by the Rangers, opted to go to Stanford. His father, a power-hitting first baseman, comebacker. They're going to get one. They will get two. A little bit of a mix-up at second base. Hanley Ramirez saying to Mark Ellis, "It's my fault." But either way, they get Mayberry to hit into the double play. Here's the throw to second, and it's crowded there. And Mark Ellis ran right by Hanley Ramirez, but they were still able to make the double play. Hanley had to be distracted, so he looked down to make sure he had stepped on the bag. A lot going on down there at second base. And they got away with it. 1-6-3. And that's the one thing about Hyun-Jin Ryu that reminds me of Fernando. So calmly takes the comebacker, starts the double play. Here's Revere, drags a bunt. It's a good one, and it goes foul. Had it been fair, they'd have tagged him out. So Revere comes back to try it again. Remember, we told you he has a half a dozen bunt singles and 19 infield hits. So Ben Revere, 2 for 2 tonight, a double to the gap in left center and a single to left. Big series, 7 for 13. 0-1. Uribe on the edge of the grass, still looking bunt. Curveball whacked into right field. Puig has to go way over to get it. No chance. And it gets away from Puig and gets up into the stands. So they will send Revere back to second base. So we'll put the camera down there and see what happened to Yasiel Puig going in the corner on the double by Revere. There's the base hit. Now here comes Puig. Off his, I think he kicked it into the stand. Nice kick. No points. So it is a 2-out double for Revere on the heels of the double play. Carlos Ruiz will be the hitter. Charlie Manuel is talking to Bill Miller, saying, "I admire field goals like anybody else." So Revere, 3 for 3. Watch this. First the heel there, and then the toe. Slammed down on it, and it jumped up and out. Charlie listening to Bill Miller. Well, you wonder when somebody kicks the ball into the stands, how else can you rule it? I mean, it can't be a home run. So it's a ground rule double for Ben Revere. A placated Manuel going back to the dugout. Puig somewhat puzzled. What have I done? And here's Ruiz. They will walk him and take their chances against Cliff Lee. That'll be the third walk. 7 hits allowed by Ryu. He has now made 90 pitches. Here's ball 3. Of course, let's face it, the Dodgers could kick themselves. Never mind kicking the baseball. They could kick themselves for the 4th inning when they had the bases loaded, nobody out, and came up empty. A.J. Ellis, remember, hit into a double play by way of the mound. Then Uribe grounded out, and that was that. So now they're trying to get out of a little bit of a jam. A leadoff walk followed by a double play, followed by a double and a walk. So Cliff Lee, who is not a bad hitting pitcher, struck out, fly to left. Ryu trying to get out of the jam. There's a beach ball loose in right field, so time until they retrieve it. Phillies certainly have the right guy at second base to score on a base hit. So the Dodgers bring Van Slyke up against a left-hand hitting pitcher. Kemp is up a bit, and the same for Puig. And a big gap in right center field. Kemp shading left center. 0-1. Goes right after him with a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Oh, and 1 to Cliff Lee. Another fastball, but this one misses. 1-1. And looked like a fastball that just jumped away. That was 92. Two balls and one strike. High foul out of play. So deuces wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. First and second. And the Dodgers trying to hold on to a 3-2 lead. Got him. Outside corner, 92-mile-an-hour fastball. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. At the end of 5 1/2, 3-2 Dodgers. Here they come in the bottom of the 6th. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. By Time Warner, enjoy all the things you love better. 1-855-WANT-TWC. And by Harmax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. Beautiful evening here at Dodger Stadium and a dandy of a ball game. Dodgers 3, Phillies 2, bottom of the 6th inning. Dodgers trying to take advantage of what's taken place so far today. Arizona lost. San Diego lost. The Giants lost. So the Dodgers with a chance to move up. Atlanta beat Arizona 11-5, 2-1. Colorado over the Giants, and Miami ripping San Diego 7-1. So a big game for the Dodgers, trying to pick up one on the front running Arizona Diamondbacks. standing in their way. One of the better pitchers around, Cliff Lee, 9-2. Gonzalez, Ramirez, and Kemp. Back-to-back Gonzalez, Ramirez. They've given Lee a bad time in the past and tonight. Ground foul. By the way, we were talking about tonight and the double no-hitters by Dave Stewart. And then we mentioned Fernando's no-hitter and Juan Samuel, who turned the double play to end the game. The batter to end Fernando's game, Pedro Guerrero. Little fly ball. Here comes Revere. Can't catch up. It'll drop. So Gonzalez, who had walked, called out on strikes, gets a fly ball single. And that will bring up Hanley Ramirez. Anyway, one last thought about Fernando's no-hitter. The man who grounded into the double play, Pedro Guerrero, celebrating his 57th birthday today. So the base hit. Now Ramirez, who has homered and doubled. He doubled, open up the fourth inning. Homered in the first inning with 2 aboard. Hanley is hit safely in 11 in a row. Fastball away. Ramirez now hitting .391. Half a dozen home runs, 17 runs batted in. Fastball strike, 1-1. Against Cliff Lee with a home run and a double tonight. Ramirez is 7 for 12. One ball and one strike. Gonzalez at first, nobody out. Started to pull the trigger, thought better of it, and the count 1-2. (3-2) Dodgers, bottom of the sixth. The only other rally the Dodgers had besides their first inning, when they loaded the bases in the fourth and failed to score. On the hands, little roller. He'll get one, no further action. So Ramirez hits into a force play, 5-4. One away. And the batter will be Matt Kemp.
Dodger center fielder, Matt Kemp.
Matt Kemp struck out and walked. Got as far as third in the fourth inning. Matt, 2 home runs, 18 runs batted in. Helped win the first game of the series, remember, with a base hit in the 8th. And stole second and third and came home on a fly ball by A.J. Ellis. Time for the moment. Hanley Ramirez wrapping the hand. You know, he wears that covering on the hand he feels that will be heading for the bag. Right hand. He's gone. Young, a bouncing throw, too late. So Hanley Ramirez going on a hit and run play, and Matt Kemp came up empty, and now Charlie Manuel is coming out. And let's see. Manuel already annoyed over the Puig drop kick for a ground rule double. Wonder where Matt was in the swing. If we can look at that, I'm assuming that Manuel is saying he interfered with my catcher. There's the swing. Then Matt kind of turned in, and Ruiz had to throw over Kemp's right shoulder. So Charlie came out to argue, and you can understand why. C.B. Buckner said no interference. Charlie annoyed. 0-1 the count. Oh and 2 the count to Matt Kemp. The strikeout has bugged him all year. When he struck out in the first inning, it was the 64th time that he has struck out this year. 0-2. Fastball missed 1-2. Matt has 11 doubles, 2 home runs, 18 runs batted in. Lee, as usual, had him 0-2. Now it's 1-2. 2-2. Lee had a little bit of a wild spot, wild for him anyway, when he walked Kemp and Van Slyke back to back in the 4th inning. Highly unusual for Cliff Lee. Two balls, 2 strikes. And down goes Kemp. So he's now struck out 65 times. And with 2 out, the batter is Scott Van Slyke. Matt was thinking about breaking the bat over his knee, I'm sure, and then decided to keep it to himself. So now it's Van Slyke, fly to center and walked 0 for 1. Oh and 1. That looked a little bit like the cutter that we've heard about. Top of the order for Philadelphia in the 7th. It's there and then it just runs in. Michael Young, Utley, and Rollins due up in the 7th. That's foul back. So there for the umpteenth time, Cliff Lee has a hitter. No balls and 2 strikes. I would hazard a guess that of all the pitchers in the league, he goes 0-2 on more hitters than any other pitcher. He has now made 101 pitches. He's had 9 0-2 counts tonight. 9. Got him. So Kemp and Van Slyke strike out. They leave Ramirez at second. And here come the Phils in the 7th. Young, Utley, and Rollins. 3-2 Dodgers. Three-run home run in the first inning. Chase Utler has hit 2. He's hit 7 here in his career, and that's it. 3-2 Dodgers. The Phillies in the series, 7 hits tonight. That gives him 42 hits in 2.5 games. So here they come in the 7th. Michael Young, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins. Michael Young struck out, grounded out twice, 0-for-3. And a strike. On 1 to Michael. Phillies team batting average is .255. With all the hitting they've done in this series, you might be surprised the Dodgers are right there with them. The Dodger team batting average coming into the game, .255. Of course, led by Hanley Ramirez, that's for sure. 2-1. And by a boy named Puig. 1 away. Michael Young goes 0-for-4. And now here comes Chase Utley in the Dodger bullpen. Now that Ryu has made 101 pitches, Ronald Belisario and Paco Rodriguez, the left-hander. The amazing Mr. Utley. Homered in the first, homered in the third, fouled out in the 5th. I think Utley feels like he's home. He was born in Pasadena, and he lives in Wilmington. Chase will be 35 the middle of December. 6'1", 200-pounder. That's a strike. He is a very powerful second baseman. He has hit as many as 33 home runs. Did that back in 2008. Knocked as many as 105 runs batted in. 1-1. That just missed. Two and one to count. Dodgers offered Utley, so we understand, an offer of about $1 million. But he opted to go to UCLA. Ground ball wide of first. Gonzalez feeding Ryu. Boy, look at Utley going down the line. You'd love to see that. A star, and he's not about to give up on a ground ball. So 2 down in the 7th inning. And Jimmy Rollins coming up. Take another look. Chase, ground ball, but he's digging. Head down, running for his life. 2 out. Really admire that kind of a player. Rollins has grounded to third, grounded to second, and then Jimmy singled to right. Hanley Ramirez coming in to say something to Ryu without an interpreter. And they both smile. Two out, 7th inning, 3-2 Dodgers. Slow curveball drops in for a strike. A big bender. On deck, Dominic Brown. Fastball fouled away, so he has Rollins in the hole. No balls and 2 strikes. An exchange of baseballs, and Ryu's pitch count now is up to 107. In looking at his previous starts to match it up, he's made as many as 114 pitches. Ground ball to the hole, backhanded by Hanley. Gets it over there in a nice stretch by Adrian Gonzalez. So down go the Phils, 1, 2, 3 for the first time tonight. And here come the Dodgers leading 3-2, bottom of the seventh. .108 pitches. Lee ready to go to the seventh. 102. Runs all earned. 3-2. The walks 3 apiece. 9 strikeouts for Cliff Lee and a half a dozen for Ryu. Ryu has now made 108 pitches. 102 made by Cliff Lee. A.J. Ellis, then Uribe, and then we'll see about Ryu. Fastball strike. A.J. struck out in the second inning, but he came up in the fourth inning with the bases loaded and hit back to the box. Lee turned it into a double play. Pops it into right field, very playable. Young and Revere, and it's Young. That fly ball could have meant a run for the Dodgers, but in the fourth inning. So 1 out, Juan Uribe coming up. Uribe has struck out and grounded out. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 7 hits for the Phillies. Lee, after making 104 pitches, ready to make number 105. Nick Punto comes out on deck. He'll bat for Ryu. And a fly ball into right center. Delman Young. So the Dodgers making it easy going after the first or the second pitch. After making 102 pitches through 6 innings. Cliff Lee has only made 3 pitches to get 2 out in the 7th. Punto, who was out on deck, goes back. Jerry Hairston is looking for a helmet, so it'll be Hairston batting for Ryu. In the 8th inning, Dominic Brown, Delman Young, and John Mayberry. So Rodriguez is getting ready for the 8th inning. So Jerry Hairston ready to come up. Hairston hitting .263, 1 home run, 10 runs batted in. He is 2 for 13 coming off the bench. He has 1 RBI as a pinch hitter. Checking the numbers as far as Cliff Lee and Hairston concerned. Hairston 3 for 26, but he does have a home run against Lee. 2 out, 7th inning, 3-2 Dodgers. They bring Michael Young up on the edge of the grass. Ball 1 to Jerry. One ball and no strikes. That's on the corner. So after 107 pitches down in the Philadelphia bullpen, Jake Diekman, the left-hander, J.C. Ramirez, the right-hander, starting to warm up. Or should I use the word warm up tonight? 1-1. Let's just say they're getting ready. Bill Miller indicating no swing. 2-1 the count. Fastball hit foul. The paid attendance tonight, a sellout, the 8th sellout this year, 52,455. 52,455. 2-2 to Jerry. Ball 3. On deck would be the leadoff man, Mark Ellis. So Lee walked a couple back-to-back in the 4th. He walked Gonzalez in the 1st. Got him on a breaking ball. Hairston thought was ball 4. So down go the Dodgers in the 7th. And we're going to the 8th inning. Cliff Lee's heading for the dugout. 3-2 Dodgers. National League. We can put them up for you. Atlanta over Arizona. Colorado edged the Giants. Miami over San Diego. The Mets took care of Washington, and the Pirates defeated Milwaukee. Meanwhile, we're moving to the 8th inning, and Paco Rodriguez comes in. He'll be facing Dominic Brown, Delman Young, and John Mayberry. For Hyun-Jin Ryu, he won a strong 7 against a very good hitting ball club and held them to 2 runs. The 2 runs were home runs by Chase Utley. So Paco has a tough act to follow. The left-hander pitching to the left-hand hitting Dominic Brown. And I don't know if Paco knows it or not, but it's a note we've given you before. Dominic Brown 8 times this year has led off an inning with a home run. He's already done it once in this series, and he is leading off the 8th tonight. Cliff Lee, in his work tonight, has made 111 pitches. Ryu made 108. So we'll see whether Lee continues in the game or not. But here's Dominic Brown, 1-for-3 with 21 home runs. Breaking ball missed, ball one. Brown has a reputation of being very patient at the plate, and Paco trying to work against him. 1-0 pitch. Off speed breaking ball for a strike, 1-1. Dominic Brown became the first player in Major League history to have at least 10 home runs in a calendar month without a walk. It was the month of May. He's from Zephyr Hills, Florida. Breaking ball, 1-2. Big curve. So Paco, 22 years old, out of Miami, 6'3" and 220. Dodgers drafted him in 2012 out of the University of Florida. So he has arrived on the scene. Paco, 6'3", 220. His true name, Steven. Steven with a V. Two balls, two strikes. Fastball just missed. So 3-2 to Dominic Brown. Big pitch against a home run hitter. And it's popped in the air, foul. Adrian Gonzalez might catch it and go. He ran right by Paco Rodriguez and A.J. Ellis. With a left-hand power hitting up, Adrian was deep at first. He had a long way to come, and here he comes. And here's Paco. Almost got in the way of Adrian. That close. So Brown fouls out. One out in the eighth. Delman Young the batter. And now Don Mattingly is going to the pen again. Ronald Belisario has been throwing in the bullpen. Don't forget the Dodgers made a personnel move before the game. Jose Dominguez, a hard-throwing right-hander, has been called up. Peter Moylan has been sent down. And here comes Belisario, and we'll be right back. One out in the 8th inning. Delman Young coming up. Ronald Belisario will do the pitching. Remember the Twitter poll question? Will there ever be another 300 game winner? Almost a split vote. 54% yes, 46% no. It's a lot of wins, isn't it? So Delman Young, who's had a big series, facing Belisario. Fastball, base hit to center. So Young, who was 0 for 1 with a couple of walks, comes up with his 8th hit in the series. Tying runs aboard with 1 out. And John Mayberry is due up. And I just wonder if Ryan Howard might come up. We haven't seen Howard since the first game. In the first game, Howard had 2 fly balls hit into a double play and struck out. So they decided to give him a little rest, let him work a little extra in batting practice. We'll see. They have Lance Nix, a left-hand batter as well. And Nix is going to come up, not Howard.
Attention, please. Pinch hitting for the Phillies, number 19, Lance Nix.
Lance Nix appeared as a pinch hitter last night and grounded out. 3-2 Dodgers. And the Phillies trying to at least get one to tie it up. Nix hitting just .209. However, he's been a very successful pinch hitter. 9 pinch hits, 5 runs batted in. And promptly bangs it to left center. Kemp has a long way to go. Can't make it. Alertly backed up by Van Slyke to hold it to a double. But now there are runners at second and third. And the batter will be Ben Revere. So Belliard comes in.
Center fielder, number 2, Ben
Take
Revere.
another look at that ball hit to. It kept slicing. Kemp trying to catch up, couldn't do it. Alertly backed up by Van Slyke. Van Slyke makes a good play to barehand the carom and get it back to the infield. That play stopped Delman Young at third base. So Belisario has forced the issue. They have to walk Revere, and they'll try to get out of it with Ruiz, who has struck out, popped up, and was walked intentionally. So Belisario, 2 hits and a walk. And the right-hand hitting Ruiz, 0 for 2, will be coming up. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. The Dodger offense hasn't been heard from since the first inning. Phillies have been threatening. In fact, they've been retired in order only once in the 7th inning.
Carlos Ruiz.
So Carlos Ruiz struck out, popped up into the infield fly rule, and was walked intentionally. Young, Nix, and Revere out on the lines. Fastball going foul down the line. 0-1. Carlos Ruiz. Ruiz has 1 grand slam. He hit it in Atlanta. He's got Young at third, Nix at second, Revere at first with 1 out. Ground foul into the Dodger dugout, and the count 0-2. Kevin Franson comes out on deck. He would bat for Cliff Lee. Franson appeared as a pinch hitter last night. Went 0 for 1. All right, 0-2 to Ruiz. Foul back. And looking at Belisario's numbers, 3-5 in his 40th game, 13 walks, 31 strikeouts. Still 0-2. 1 out. Slider pulled to third, to the plate goes Uribe for 1, to first, too late. So the play goes 5-2 and everybody moves up. So the bases are still loaded. Young forced at the plate. Ryan Howard now finally makes his appearance. I was wondering about when we were going to see him. Well, we're going to see him now. Out at the plate, late at first. So Ryan Howard coming up in game 1. Howard went 0 for 4, hit into a double play and struck out. Always a threat. Howard normally starts all the games. As a pinch hitter, he is 1 for 4 with 2 runs batted in. And now Don Mattingly will go back to the bullpen as Howard is announced. So Ronald Belisario gave up a walk, a single, a double, got out of it unscathed so far. J.P. Howell is coming in, and we'll be right back. To force Don Mattingly's hand. So Howard was announced. Now Kevin Franzen will come up and bat for Howard. The Dodgers have brought in J.P. Howell. Belisario made 10 pitches and gave up 2 base hits, and it was typical of a reliever. Both hits came on the first pitch. In other words, Belisario come in with the idea of getting ahead of the hitters, and they upped him 1. So bases loaded, 2 out. And Kevin Franzen coming up with Nix, Revere, and Ruiz out on the line. We'll check J.P. Howell and Franzen. They have never faced each other before. Franzen, you may remember, was a Giant for several years. 3-2 Dodgers, 8th inning. 2 out. And ball 1. What's that old comedian's line? I wouldn't give this spot to a leopard. Well, JP's got it. Franzen from Los Gatos in San Jose went to San Jose State. Giants selected him back in 2004. second year with the Phillies. And a hard ground ball smothered by Ramirez for the force play. Hanley smothering and then a little backflip hanging it to Mark Ellis. No run. Game. He makes that smothering stop and makes a little backhand feed to Mark Ellis to get the Dodgers out of the jam. And of course it was Hanley who hit the 3-run home run in the first inning to give the Dodgers a lead in the first place. So J.P. Howell holding up his glove. Thank you, Hanley. And Ramirez getting fives in the dugout. Lance Nix, who batted for Mayberry in double, stays in the game at first base. And J.C. Ramirez takes over on the mound. He's from Managua in Nicaragua. Big man at 6'3", 245. He'll be 25 the middle of August. And he was originally signed by the Mariners. He's been in 2 games, and as the note tell you, he's retired all 9. The Mariners signed him, but never brought him up. And he made his first appearance this year. Mark Ellis. Fouled out, struck out, popped up. For Ramirez, 4-seam fastball, the 2-seamer, curveball, slider, and a change. And the fastball strike. 0-1 at 95. He's been clocked at 98. Oh, 1. Another fastball. So he's made 2 pitches at 95, and he has the count his way. No balls and 2 strikes. That's picking right up where Cliff Lee left off. Remember, he had 9 0-2 counts. No balls, 2 strikes to Mark Ellis. A couple of years ago, Ramirez pitched through a hip injury most of the season. After the season, J.C. underwent surgery to repair it. Interesting how the baseball life works in circles. Little dribbler. 1 away. In December of 2009, the Phillies traded Cliff Lee to the Mariners so they could acquire Ramirez, Felipe Almont, who we saw last night, and an outfielder, Tyson Giles. And now Ramirez and Cliff Lee are teammates. So here's Puig. Single to center, grounded out twice. One out, bottom of the 8th. 3-2 Dodgers. Well, he didn't swing at the first pitch, and there was a strike. 0-1. Puig hitting .421, 7 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Fastball, fly ball. Easy fly ball to Delman Young. So we have 2 out in the 8th inning. Puig will go 1 for 4. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Here's a highlight play out of a football highlight. That was the drive into right field that was kicked into the stands, first by the heel and then stepping on it. He got good backspin and he kicked it up into the seats for a ground rule double. Charlie Manuel came out to argue, to no avail. Now he's going to lift the right-hander, and Adrian Gonzalez will be coming up. They'll bring in the lefty, and we'll be right back. The numbers 2, 3, and 4 hitters, and that's the offense. Puig had a base hit in the first inning. Gonzalez walked, and Ramirez hit a home run. And really, that's all has been said. They blew a great opportunity in the 4th inning. Bases loaded, nobody out, and failed to score. And now here they are, bottom of the 8th, leading 3-2, and Jake Diekman out of Wymore, Nebraska, coming in. Originally drafted by the Phillies back in 2007. Wymore, Nebraska is a town that doesn't field a high school baseball team. Jake is 6'4", 200, 26 years old. Fastball, strike. 96. 0-1. Adrian has walked, struck out, single to center, fly ball that dropped in. Another fastball. Jake Diekman, since he didn't have a baseball team, golf was his sport. He played for an American Legion team made up of kids from Wymore, Diller, Odell, and Lewiston, Nebraska. 1-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Slapped down the line, foul, out of play. Jake Diekman was headed to the University of Nebraska in the fall of 2007, and the Phillies signed another player. And then right after that, when he was drafted, his mom passed away. Well, he's been through a lot, and here he is. One ball and 2 strikes. Curveball, big bouncer, fair ball, and the out to end the inning. So the Dodgers wind up going 1-2-3. And we are heading for the 9th. Young, Utley, and Rollins, 3-2 Dodgers. With new lowly year prices, watch every out-of-market game live on over 350 supported mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. So visit MLB.TV today. Baseball everywhere. Well, before a sellout crowd, Andre Ethier takes over in left field for Scott Van Slyke. Top of the 9th inning, and Kenley Jansen will try to get the save and give Ryu the win. It's been Ryu, then Paco Rodriguez, then Ronald Belisario, who made 10 pitches. J.P. Howell made only 2, and here's Kenley. Jansen appeared in the first game and pitched the 9th inning, gave up a base hit but nothing else. And the Dodgers won that game 6-4. So here's Michael Young. And a strike. Michael Young, who had 4 hits last night, is 0 for 4 tonight. He has 2,310 hits, imagine, as he stands at the plate. Came up with the Rangers in 2000. Off the hands, fouled away, inside out, 0-2. To repeat, 52,455. Kenley Jansen with rather remarkable numbers. 6 walks, 58 strikeouts. And it's hit over the head of Gonzalez, and it's inside the chalk. So a base hit. And when the ball gets away from Puig, Young goes into second base. So an error charge to Puig, and the tying run is now at second base. Single to right, E9. Although Puig disappears from our view, we just saw the ball get away from him. Oh, yeah. So he'll draw the error. So with the tying run at second, it is Chase Utley coming up. Utley, 2 home runs, then fouled out and grounded out. So Jansen in a lot of trouble on the base hit in the error. Utley was 1 for 1 in the past against Jansen and fouled out against him in the first game. And strike. So he is 0 for 2. Jay's having a usual big series against the Dodgers, 7 for 12. Michael Young, the tying run at second, nobody out. Oh and 1. Now A.J. going out to talk to Kenley. So Puig makes an error. It happens to them all. Now we'll see what happens because of it. Michael Young, the tying run. Jay Sutton, marvelous all-around player. Had that oblique which kept him out of quite a few games earlier, but he's healthy indeed, as the 2 home runs would attest. 0 and 1. 1 and 1. Utley missed 4 weeks with the strain on his side. Then he played 2 rehab games. Interesting, in the 2 rehab games he went 0 for 9. And then he was ready. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball grounded to the right side. Ellis has the play. However, if there isn't the error by Puig, you're right, that would have been a double play. Instead, the ground ball puts the tying run 90 feet away. And the batter, Jimmy Rollins. A reminder, Dodgers Live coming up after the game. Now the Dodgers have to play the infield in against Jimmy Rollins, a switch hitter. Jimmy is so consistent. He came into the game hitting .261 left and .260 right. So far tonight, he is 1 for 4. So the infield is in. Jansen working on Rollins. Rollins 1 for 1 in the past against Jansen, and that's a strike. Rollins did not face Jansen in the first game. 0 and 1. One and 1. Rollins, fine clutch player with runners in scoring position. He's hitting .309. And there's a man, Michael Young, certainly in scoring position at third. One other thought, of course, with a runner at third, you have to check wild pitches. Jansen has 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1 and 2. Does Rollins strike out much? Well, let's check. Only a total of 47 times in about 350 plate appearances. So he is a contact hitter. He's tough to put away. Jansen has him 1 ball, 2 strikes. Big pitches here. Kenley thinks better of it. He wants to talk to A.J. and A.J. said, no, don't bother. Now Uribe says, well, wait a minute, I want to talk to him. If A.J. doesn't want to talk to him, we'll talk to him. One and 2 the count to Jimmy Rollins. Michael Young at third, 1 out, 9th inning. Dodgers lead 3-2. Fouled away. Jimmy with that short stroke, able to make contact. But with that short stroke, he still has a lot of big numbers. And a fly ball. Kemp started back, catches on the run, gets a good throw, and the runner has to hold, but it turns out to be a bad throw, and the run scores. Matt's throw was up the first baseline, but it was strong enough to make you think the runner would not come, and the runner wouldn't come. And then when it got away, the tying run scores. So for Jansen, first of all, he inherited a spot where Puig made an error. The next ground ball would have been at least a force. And now the fly ball is way up the line, but the runner's not coming until now. And here comes Michael Young. So the Dodgers, remember, let's face it, a poor defensive team. They have been a poor defensive team since opening day. And it's not only the errors that they commit, it's the plays they fail to make. So 3-3. And here's Dominic Brown. Ball one. So Rollins, a fly ball to center. For Puig, he's thinking about his error. Matt Kemp is thinking about that throw up the line that got away. And we're tied in the ninth. That's in for a strike. It will be an error all the way because the runner was not coming. There's no run batted in for Jimmy, but nevertheless, he got the man home. And for Matt Kemp's throw up the line, he draws the error. Dodgers' second error tonight. High fly ball into left center and very deep. Going to the wall, reaching up. Ethier can't make it. He gets away from Matt Kemp. And Dominic Brown is on his way to third with a triple. The Dominic Brown triples between Ethier and Kemp. It's a disastrous defensive inning for the Dodgers. 2-out runner at third, and Delman Young coming up. Dodgers are playing their 80th game, and they have made 60 errors. 6-0. Meanwhile, Brown legs out the triple, and Rick Honeycutt legs it to the mound. For Dominic Brown, that's his first triple. He has 5 doubles. Oh, it's his third triple. 21 home runs. So for Puig, now suddenly some unhappy thoughts. So many things had gone his way. For Matt Kemp, wishing he had that throw back because the runner was not coming. For Ethier, just getting into the game, could not run down that long drive by Brown. And A.J. Ellis couldn't handle that throw up the line from Matt Kemp, and the run came home. So in the bottom of the ninth inning, the Dodgers will have Hanley Ramirez, Matt Kemp, and Andre Ethier, but Cliff Lee is off the hook. 0-1 to Delman Young with a go-ahead runner at third. Young is struck out, walked twice, singled, and was forced at the plate. Fastball, 0-2. 3 runs, 11 hits for the Phils. That means they've had 46 hits in the 3 games. The Dodgers, 3 runs, 4 hits, and 2 of those hits in the first inning. No balls and 2 strikes to Delman Young. Fastball got him. However, the Dodgers let it get away here in the ninth inning. And they are forced to come up as Kenley Jansen shakes his head, leaving the mound. It will be Hanley Ramirez, then Matt Kemp, then Andre Ethier, 3-3 in the ninth. Justin DeFreitas will be coming in to be the fourth Philadelphia pitcher. DeFreitas pitched in Game 1, came in to pitch the 7th inning, and was charged with 2 runs and a couple of hits. Yasiel Puig got the base hit against him to give the Dodgers the 5-4 lead, and the Dodgers went on to win that game 6-4. Though it will be Hanley Ramirez who has homered and doubled and hit into a force play. Well, those are the walk-off wins. 1 this year, 12 last year. Justin DeFreitas is out of Oxnard, California. Went to Ventura Junior College. Drafted by the Phillies in 2007. Throws hard. In the Florida State League, he was clocking 98 miles an hour. 6'4", 220. Fastball whacked into center by Ramirez. That old line about like trying to throw a lamb chop by a wolf. You try to throw a fastball, no matter how hard it is, Hanley's going to rip it. That was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and to him it was BP. So that's Hanley's 3rd hit. Now you have Kemp, Ethier, and A.J. Ellis. Matt's had a tough night. He has struck out twice and walked, committed the throwing error. 2 for 9 in the series, hitting .250. 3 runs, 11 hits for the Phils. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Andre Ethier on deck. Ramirez stole second in the 6th inning. And ball 1. Hanley is 3 for 3 in stolen bases. And of course, remember, the Dodgers live with fear of the hamstring. 1 ball and no strikes. Now Carlos Ruiz going out to talk to DeFreitas. Last year, DeFreitas, who had been on a popular Food Network cooking program, but he was also on the DL. Ramirez, winning run at first, nobody out. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-1. Justin DeFreitas 2-2 with the league. He's in his 22nd game. Fighting it a little bit. 9 walks, 13 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Puig, along with his thoughts, they can't be happy ones right now. 1-1. One and 2 the count to Matt Kemp. Waiting is Andre Ethier. When DeFreitas pitched the 7th inning, he did not face Kemp. One and 2. Got it. So Matt Kemp is caught looking and strikes out for the 3rd time. And Kemp now is getting C.B. Buckner in his face. Mattingly coming out to try and save his center fielder. So that'll bring up Andre Ethier.
Left fielder, number 16, Andre.
You're the judge on that one. Matt thought it was low for sure. C.B. Buckner punches him out. So Kemp back in the dugout. Andre Ethier will have his first at bat of the night against DeFreitas. in that game that DeFreitas pitched in the 7th inning. Ethier did not face him. So Andre hitting .256, 5 home runs, 24 runs batted in. Time. Ethier with Ramirez at first. Ramirez having 3 hits tonight, single, double, and a 3-run home run. And way off the plate, ball 1. DeFreitas has been fighting his control, and he's walked 7 in his last 5 appearances, 7 in 2 2/3. 1 ball and no strikes. And ball 2. The Phillies bullpen certainly did not pitch well at home for Charlie Manuel, and actually they haven't pitched well on the road. The bullpen has lost 23 games on the road. So Ramirez, cautious lead, 2-0 the count to Ethier. A.J. Ellis on deck. And ball 3. So DeFreitas again, trouble with his control. Ellis waiting. Ramirez at first, 3-0 count. Ramirez held on by Lance Nix. And the 3-0 pitch to Andre Ethier. And a strike. 3-1. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 11 hits for the Phils. Hanley Ramirez has 3 of the 5 hits. 3-1 to Andre Ethier. And ball 4. So DeFreitas gives up a base hit and a walk. And with 1 out, the batter will be A.J. Ellis. Rich Doobie, the pitching coach, going out. A.J. Ellis struck out and came up with the bases loaded and nobody out in the 4th inning, and hit into a double play, hitting a comebacker to Cliff Lee. And then last time up, fly to right. So A.J. 0 for 3 and was unable to get up the line and hold on to the throw by Matt Kemp, and the tying run scored. So Doobie holding 4th out there on the mound. And here comes A.J. A.J. Ellis against DeFreitas in the 7th inning of game 1, walked. And then Uribe single. So A.J. up with Uribe on deck. You have Ramirez, the winning run at second. Andre Ethier at first. 1 away. Off speed for a strike. Wow. A change starting Ellis after throwing 96 to Ramirez. Oh and 1. Fastball fouled away, and it's a no ball 2 strike count. So Matt Kemp, Adrian Gonzalez, all the Dodgers pretty much on the rail. Justin DeFreitas picking up for Cliff Lee, who is off the hook. 0-2. Just showing a fastball at 94. And the count 1-2. Last year, De Freitas on the DL from February into July with a bad elbow. Puig and Schumacher looking on. One ball, two strikes. And the fastball misses low. That was 95. 2-2. So you get the note on De Freitas that he's fighting his control. Juan Uribe is on deck. And Carlos Ruiz goes out to talk to De Freitas. Justin, 25 years old. He'll be 26 the end of October. From Oxnard. Hanley Ramirez, the winning run at second. One out. 2-2 the count to A.J. Ellis. High fastball foul back. That was 95. Pitch was up. Whether it was out of the strike zone or not, he'd have to take another look. But with two strikes, he couldn't afford to take it. Two balls, two strikes. 52,455. Seeing a tough game. Fastball hit into right field. Base hit. Here comes Hanley. Here comes Delman Young's throw. He's in there. And the Dodgers win it 4-3. A.J. Ellis, who hit into the bases-loaded double play in the fourth inning, redeems himself with a base hit to right field in the ninth inning to score Hanley Ramirez, and the Dodgers win it 4-3. Take another look. A.J. got a fastball hit inside, a shot into right. Young's throw is on the money, and Hanley Ramirez just able to get in there under the attack by Ruiz. So the Dodgers now, believe it or not, are 5 games behind the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's right, a high 5. 4 runs, 6 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 11 hits, no errors. The winning pitcher is Jansen. The losing pitcher is De Freitas. Stay tuned for Dodgers Live coming up next. Good night, everybody.
Certainly no lack of drama here tonight at Dodger Stadium. Joined down here at the Dodgers dugout by the man who scores the winning run, Hanley Ramirez. Mark Rogandino here with you. Hanley, after last night, listen to this crowd here. Sellout crowd tonight.
It's all about this crowd. I think they, from the first inning, they started to pump everybody. I think we're doing pretty good right now as a team. We're doing everything we can to go out there and compete.
We were talking about it on the broadcast earlier that after last night, it's about how you guys get back up off the mat and how you respond here tonight. Heck of a way to do it with a ninth inning win.
We put away that tough loss last night. I think that's in the past. So we come back tonight and and keep playing hard. And we're gonna go all the way to the end. I think we got a pretty good team. Everybody know that. And I think, look at this crowd, man. I think it's unbelievable.
Along those lines, these guys in the clubhouse starting to get back healthy. Everyone's starting to play their roles. You have to have a good feeling about things inside that clubhouse right now.
Everybody want to play. I think when everybody come out here and see this crowd going crazy every night, I think everybody want to say, I want to be in there, It's all about them.
Lastly, before I let you go, 11-game hitting streak. You told me a couple of nights ago you've been feeling really good. How do you keep it going?
I don't think about that. I just think about that double at the end of the night. It's what we're here for. I think myself, I don't think of myself. I think it's 25 guys in there come out here and compete every day.
Keep up the hard work. Dodger fans, let them hear it. Hanley Ramirez, 3 for 4 tonight. I see you. We want to see much more from number 13 for the Dodgers. He has been sensational. Speaking of sensational, we got plenty coming up here on Prime Tickets. It is Dodgers Live, presented by your SoCal Mazda dealers. Plenty of talking points. Stick around, Dodger fans. Back in a moment.